Hey everyone, I'm Bree. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you a few of my favorite romance tropes. Let's kick it off with siblings best friend trope. Typically when we see this trope, the heroine is the younger sibling and she has an older brother who has a best friend who she's been in love with for a very long time. There's this underlying tone of loyalty that we see between the sibling and the best friend. This translates into a ton of angst amongst the heroine and the love interest, aka the best friend. I feel like for the authors, they have to really focus on a couple of things when they use this trope in the romance. First and foremost, they really have to make sure we as the readers know and understand the history between the best friend and the sibling. They have to make that decision. Are these two childhood best friends? Are they two people met recently? Because this plays a key factor in how long the love interest has been in the life of the heroine. Obviously, the story will look a lot different if it's someone who she's known all her life versus someone that her sibling just met and is just now introducing her to for the first time. This trope is one of those what you see is what you get. Usually when this trope is used, it is the main cause of tension in the story. I have seen some where it hasn't, but for the most part, it is what is going to cause tension in the romance. Another thing authors have to do when they use this trope is they have to make sure, I think, that they pay the right amount of attention to the sibling. This person is very vital to the story. So we have to pay the right amount of attention, I think, to the sibling to really understand where that tension is coming from. Has there been a conversation off the page where the sibling is like, dude, don't touch my sister? Or is it just assumed amongst the heroine and the love interest that them having a relationship is completely off limits? So a book that I wasn't really fond of, but the more that time progresses, even though I'm still not really a fan of it, I've really gained an appreciation and a respect for it, is 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. This book epitomizes this trope. The heroine in this book, her brother, to me, from what I remember, he acted how you would expect the sibling to act. We always worry about how the sibling who is best friends with a love interest is going to act. And I felt like her brother in that book acted how we expect all of them to act. So kind of a creative spin on the trope. Sarah Morgan's From Manhattan with Love series. In the first book, which is Sleepless in Manhattan, we have Paige and Jake. And Jake is Paige's brother Matt's best friend. That is most of the tension in this book. We get to book 2, which is Sunset in Central Park, and Frankie and Matt, which is Paige's brother who we meet in book 1, he is pursuing Paige's best friend Frankie. However, in this one, Sarah Morgan chooses to not let the fact that Matt is Paige's brother and Frankie is Paige's best friend, she chooses to not let that be the tension, but she focuses on more of Frankie's internal struggle. She is a child who went through divorce and she's just kind of made this decision to not ever really get romantically involved with someone. Next up, I want to talk about time travel, and I am sad because time travel romances aren't as popular as I feel like they should be. I do feel like once upon a time there was this wave of time travel romances, like way before the time that I actually started reading romance. So what I like about time travel romance, it really adds the fish out of water element to your story. It displaces your main character and they learn very quickly that they have to figure out how they are going to survive wherever they are in whatever time period that they have found themselves in. All the while really having to figure out how the heck are they going to get back home. I think one of the things that authors have to think about when they decide to write a time travel romance is the time travel on purpose or was it an accident? I don't think that we see a lot of like purposeful time travel in romance, but when time travel is done on purpose, usually the heroine has some type of quest that she has to go on. So she's now time traveled and she has to figure out what it is that she's supposed to do. And still the kind of elephant in the room is, how am I going to get back home after I'm done doing what I'm supposed to do? So when I pick up a time travel romance, the thing I key in on the most is I like to see how authors get creative with the actual time slippage. So obviously this is where the whole like sci-fi and fantasy based part comes in. If a author chooses to use like a time machine, which we don't see much of in romance, then it becomes more like a sci-fi based story. But if they're just simply like walking room to room or walking down a path or literally just going to sleep, then it becomes more of a fantasy based story. So in one of my favorites, the Dark Tides trilogy by Candace Osmond, in book 1, the heroine is literally just going through some stuff. She picks up a glass bottle that has a ship inside of it and she accidentally drops it, and now she wakes up in the middle of the ocean and she has time traveled back like 300 years. Or in the case of The Rose Garden by Susanna Kearsley, our heroine is literally just like walking room to room or walking down a dirt path, and she time travels and she is falling in love with Daniel Butler. This is one of my favorite love stories ever. Or in the case of our heroine Ryan from A Love Beyond Time, homegirl literally just falls asleep in a teepee and wakes up days before the Battle of Little Bighorn. But what we see in each of these titles is our heroine has time traveled to a time that is not her own. She has met someone who definitely shakes things up. Now she hits this point where she has to make a decision in her journey of, do I want to stay where I am, which is not my time period, or do I want to go back to my time? And what I am enjoying is, while time travel romances aren't as popular, people are still writing them. One of my favorite books so far from 2019 has been Reigning Magics, and in this one we have a heroine from the past who time travels to present day. I think this is a really interesting spin on time travel, because while it's interesting and kind of provides this wonderful escape to see a present day heroine time travel to the past, it is also interesting to see someone from the past come to the future where there's more modern conveniences, there's showers, there's cars, there's cell phones, and seeing them kind of just see how much easier I think life is with more modern conveniences versus like going back to the past. Friends to lovers. So I just recently read Insatiable by Melanie Harlow, which really inspired this trope being on the list. This book by Melanie Harlow just really made me realize how much I love this trope. I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea or a shot of Henny. For me, I feel like it really works. It's one of the tropes that I think makes the most sense. So in friends to lovers romances, the hero and the heroine, or whoever, already have some type of relationship established. So in Insatiable, for example, Noah and Meg, the hero and the heroine, they are childhood best friends. And that's one of the things that I think the authors have to really zero in on, is they have to, for the readers, paint how deep the history between the two people go. And we as the readers have to really be able to understand the depth of their friendship. So in Insatiable, for example, at the beginning of the book, Meg is broken up with by her boyfriend. He's just like packing his clothes, he's taking a job somewhere else, he's leaving her. And the person that she calls is Noah back in Michigan. She lives in Washington, D.C. at the moment. She's about to go home back to Michigan for her sister's upcoming wedding. But literally the person she calls, she doesn't call one of her sisters, she doesn't call her mom, she calls Noah. So that really just, for me, while I was reading it, painted that picture of like, this is someone that she can talk to about anything at any time. She can pick up the phone at any moment and call Noah and he is going to answer. Then kind of the tricky part, the author has to really make it believable for us as the readers of like why these two aren't together. It doesn't just stop at, oh, we're friends. For us as readers, that just is not enough. You have to come a little bit harder. And in the case of Insatiable, for example, Meg gets to the point where it's really obvious, like she's ready to do this thing with Noah. She's ready to take it to the next step. But we as a reader have to see Noah rationalize. We really have to see Noah come to the realization on his end that this is something that's doable. He has made all these reasons up in his mind, not for just Meg in particular, but why he is not good for a relationship. He's a police officer. He works really long hours. His last girlfriend put him in the situation where he had to choose between him and his family. His twin brother lives with cerebral palsy, and Noah lives with this guilt of like, why am I the one that's out here living healthy? He really feels like he has to put his family first. All of his like off-duty time pretty much goes to his family. He's come up with all of these reasons why he's not good for a relationship. And these were things that he came to the conclusion of before Meg even really came into the picture romantically. So now she's putting her heart out on the line and he's just like, this is something that can happen. Been known this about me. But the tricky thing is, the thing that the friends to lovers part comes in, Meg has always been a part of his life. She gets along with his family. His mom loves her. His sister loves her. His brother loves her. Meg is one of the few people that like treated his brother like an actual human being. It's discussed in the book about how he was different and how people used to bully him and how Meg would come over and just like watch TV with him and hang out with him. So all the signs point to this is the person that is meant for you. But we have to see him kind of rationalize everything and make it make sense for himself. Let's talk about forbidden love next. The biggest thing with forbidden love is just like, it's like, why can't they be together? Some authors do it so well that it's just like, this is so wrong, but you're reading it and it feels so right. They create this story where there are two people that are just crazy about each other, but for some reason, and it's usually some kind of outside force, for some reason they cannot be together. They're gonna find a way to be together anyway, and that brings on feelings of guilt and deception, fear of being found out, and punishment. And the characters end up having to either decide to just let it be, like it's not something that can happen, or we're gonna be together and we're gonna be out and open and free about the fact that we're together and that we love each other. Let's use the example of Priest, for example, by Sierra Simone. I talk about this book all the time. In Priest, it follows priest Tyler Bell. He is a priest in a Catholic church. He finds himself falling in love and having sex with with this girl Poppy that comes to the church. He should not be doing this. And we really see, like, we see Tyler being super irrational and super reckless now that he is getting these feelings for Poppy and now that they have become intimate. Like, he's super reckless. Another really good example of Forbidden is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. It is between Jordan and Pike. It is an age gap romance. It is the heroine in this one is literally dating the hero's son at the beginning of the book. This is a classic romance. It definitely feels wrong on so many levels, but the more you get into the story, the further you get into the story, it just makes total sense. These two people are meant to be together. And lastly, because it is December, let's talk about Christmas. I have so many thoughts on this. If you're new to my channel, I absolutely love Christmas romances. They are some of my absolute favorites. But I will say, I've been reading Christmas romances basically since September. So I've read quite a few. And I feel like there's a line, and it's either a Christmas story or it is a Christmas romance. And I feel like a lot of what we are seeing are just Christmas stories, which to me is, if you took the mention of Christmas out of the story and the story would still totally be fine, then it's just a Christmas story. But in Christmas romances, the ones that I'm like seeking, the ones that I really want to read, Christmas is a very central part of the story. And there are a lot of holiday romances, Christmas romances that are put on the shelves, and it's like, read this Christmas romance, and then I start reading it and I'm like, this isn't really a Christmas romance. Christmas may be mentioned. In a lot of cases, Christmas happens at the end of the book and then that is it. And it's like, oh, this did not feel Christmassy at all. What really works for me with Christmas romances is I live in South Texas. We don't really get Christmas. It's literally like 80 degrees outside. I want like descriptions of the weather. I want to hear about the snow falling outside. I want to smell the Christmas cookies that are baking. And little details like that really go a long way when you're trying to create a Christmas romance. For me as a reader, I want to be transported somewhere where I'm actually feeling like I'm experiencing Christmas. And I feel like a lot of authors are getting really creative with Christmas romances. So one of the romances that I'm currently reading is The Claus in Christmas by Rachel Bloom. Our heroine in this one has inherited a cottage, but before making the decision and actually being able to sign off on the documentation, deeming it hers, she has to complete a Christmas festive activity every day leading up to Christmas. And another really interesting one was Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses by Jenny Hale. I feel like this was another creative spin. We follow our heroine Abby, who wants to be an interior decorator, and she gets this job opportunity that she can't pass up, basically to decorate this billionaire's mansion who's going to be hosting family Christmas at his home for the holidays. I feel like there's so many things that you can do with Christmas romances. So hopefully, I'm really hoping 2020 is a better year, but again, this is just one of my absolute favorite romance tropes to read. So those are some of my favorite romance tropes. If you would like me to do more of these videos, let me know down in the comments below and share with me some of your favorite tropes and what it is that you love about them. I would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Have a good day. Bye.
I want you to win my heart.